So, we'll call the regular Board of Directors meeting to order at 5:12. First item is approval of the agenda. And I have a motion to accept the agenda as written.
So moved.
Second? Is that, yeah. All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right. Yes, none. Public comment, none. Board questions, comments, or discussion? Does anybody have anything they want to bring up? I do, real quick. Before I came today, I looked on the county clerk's election results. Simeon, right now you stand at 275 votes in favor. The open position for no candidate filed, Jeff, it says 0. I called them up, they said they haven't gotten to the write-ins. And that could, I said, well, when are you gonna do that? Well, sometime between now and June the 12th, when everything becomes official. So I'll continue to monitor it, probably as some other folks will, and we'll just see what happens. But I mean, in my mind, it's just.
Hey, John.
Yes.
Cassie O'Neill, the clerk, fairly good friends with her. I've been sending her pictures of Hawaii just to torture her right along. And then just before this meeting, I sent an email and said, hey, what about the write-ins? And I suspect she might answer me. I don't know if she'll give me any substantive answer, but I'll get more than just a sometime between now and June out of her probably.
Yeah, because I don't know if that was the person I talked to. It wasn't Cassie, so maybe that was she. But they explained the whole thing in June the 12th, and if they're still receiving some of the ballots, you know, I don't know what the closing date exactly on some of those are. But and then I called her back, I said, but what about this? And it was kind of like she felt, well, we have time, plenty of time to do that. And I just concerned that, you know, they run these ballots through a machine and they come up with their numbers, and just, hopefully they will go back through and see where there's write-ins and record those.
Oh, they will, John. That's a normal part of the process. It's just not high profile, especially in uncontested race.
Okay.
I'll bug her. You know, they've got to decipher handwriting and all sorts of things. So I'll bug her.
Okay, all right. So additionally,
When I looked at the Secretary of State's website,
yeah,
it showed 60 write-ins.
really?
Didn't say who they were, but it showed that there have been 60 write-ins.
Wow.
My wife promised, so I don't know.
Did she write in all those?
Probably.
Well, I think that Jerry played a big role in that, because he had sent out an email to to a group, and hopefully they responded. And I went around my neighborhood, told them to vote for you. So I received 279 votes to this point, and Jim Carlson, you're the big winner at 304. So.
Yeah, you're the president next year.
We're not getting any comment there. The next item is the April 20th regular board meeting minutes. Review of same, a motion to accept the minutes. I'll make the first motion. Second?
I'll second.
Second.
All right, any discussion?
Couple small things. On page 3, under pump station, it starts mellow stated, and then the third sentence says, "I will be." That should be mellow stated. Okay. Just to be consistent.
So what do we put in there?
Mellow stated, he will. Mellow stated, he will.
Okay.
And the other thing is that under operational summary, the sentence that bothered me last time, Abbey Camp and Oceanside pump stations are the last of the functioning, but now we have obsolete, multi-road control panels. It's changed in this month's
Yes.
operational summary, and I like it better in this month's operational summary than this one.
This is the minutes.
Okay.
This is
So-
this is where you, oh, I see what you, no, I don't see what you're saying.
This is the minutes from last month, so I couldn't change it, but the new one, the one that.
They've
you
been, it's
write-
been corrected.
Yeah,
in the- in
it
the
will.
It
minutes.
is correct in the new one.
Yes, and
Yeah,
so it will be
yeah.
that way from there on,
Okay.
but I can't change it in this month's stuff.
Okay. All right. Still like it.
Right, but then.
Well, because
but-
that's how it was when it was presented last month.
Yeah.
You can request to have it altered, but you can't alter the actual.
That's what we have to, we made a statement, so.
Yeah. That's fine.
Okay, any other comments? All right, all in favor of accepting the April 20th regular board meeting minutes with the one change underneath pump stations, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. All right, and the motion to accept the April 30th financial statements.
So moved.
Second,
I'll second that.
discussion.
I noticed that we have no new hookups.
We have some delay
Jeff, at any time you want to chime in, I know you're not quite on the board yet, but you're welcome to
Okay.
comment.
I don't wanna jump ahead until we know who those votes are. But you can ask as a citizen.
Any comments? If not, all in favor of accepting the financial statements as written, say aye.
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 April 2023 board audit and accounts payable for review.
There's a $9,000 payment, $9,304.55 for a crane camera.
Yes, so that was under the preferred worker program, so we purchased it and then they reimbursed us for it. I told the board at the last board meeting, we would have that, it would show up on this. But that has been reimbursed.
And I see much quicker.
Yeah, yeah, he was, a little shocked how slow the other ones were.
Okay. If there's no other comments, the district report is next.
Okay, so treatment plan is running without any issues, as you can see above. K1 pump station has the leak, as I reported last month. I still have to get the engineers out here to look at that. Most likely what's gonna happen is they're gonna have to redesign. It won't be a full redesign, it'll be a redesign of, change it to stainless steel piping up into the valve vault. I don't know if it's gonna involve upgrading any of the old piping in the valve vault as well. So that's a little bit, that could be a little bit larger project. And so they're gonna have to do a design to spec out the proper pipes and fittings that it's gonna take to change it over to stainless steel and mounting brackets and stuff like that. It's still operational, it hasn't failed. That wet well is like 25 feet deep, so it's gonna require specialty equipment to get that in there and actually change that out. So, we have them on other projects right now. Avalon, as you know, Cougar Ridge, it's not quite finished yet, so we're wrapping that up. We updated our public works design standards, which we do annually. So West Tech's working on that, plus they're also working on the Oceanside pump station manual transfer switch project and doing the add-on for the manual transfer switch for the Netarts pump station. So Capes One's not forgotten about, but and right now in the priority it's a little bit lower. We still have one set that we can run on, or one pump we can run on if we have to, if there is a failure. Then we'd probably get into some sort of patchwork band clamps or something like that, just to temporarily patch it. Excuse me, to patch it. The Oceanside and Capes 2 pump station panels, we finally got the new UPS battery backups in, so both those pump stations are repaired. All the other pump stations are operating without issues. The treatment plant, basin 1 failure of the automatic transfer, the automatic air valve. It was looking like we weren't gonna get the parts until August, because they had to come from Germany, but we just got an update that they should be shipped from Germany by July 7th. So that gets us a little closer. We're probably not gonna see them until probably September is what I'm estimating. The Wedeco UV disinfection system, it's been checked. What was causing all the lamp failures from the generator switching back and forth, that's an indicator of weak lamps, weak bulbs. So after so many years, they just get weak. And so it knocks them out and they don't want to come back on, and then they'll start coming on and off. So that was the issue. When we first talked to the engineer at Wedeco, he thought it was something in our surge control system for electrical, and it wasn't. It was just weak bulbs. The guys changed them all out, and we're not having that issue anymore. So now we know what to look for when they start to go bad.
How long did they last?
How many years of service we get out of these?
This is our second set of the Eco Rays. 3?
That's it.
3 years on a full set.
3 to 4. Yeah.
They usually recommend changing them out. Well, they first told us a year, and then you saw how much they were, and now they're saying 24 months. But we usually run them till we start having issues with them. Now we know what to look for, so we'll probably be ordering replacement lamps every couple of years to keep them in stock. It's an important piece of equipment and keeps us in compliance with DEQ on disinfection. And we received all the spare parts for the UV as well already with the lamps. So blower 3 has been replaced, the new one came in. There is, and it's operating well. the old blower that we took out, we sent it over to have it evaluated, and you'll see that I've attached, so on here, you're gonna see on the estimate, it is $6,132 to repair the old one. We're estimating $7,700 to replace it with a new one. It sounds awful close, like why don't you just buy a new one and not go with an old one? These blowers, the way they're set up, they're gonna remachine this case with a hardened sleeve. So technically, by repairing this one, when we ever, it's a spare now, if we ever have to change it, it should last longer with the hardened sleeves for the drive shafts going through where the impellers are, if that makes sense. So it's actually better option to repair it and machine it with the hardened sleeves inside than it is to go back to the straight cast iron. So,
Could you briefly explain again what the blower does?
the blower is, when they come on, they're the ones that add air to our treatment system, so we can oxidate the sewer in there, so it bubbles and keeps air in there. The microorganisms need dissolved oxygen, and that's what those blowers supply, is the dissolved oxygen for the treatment process. So I don't need board approval on this, but I wanted the board to aware, why would I spend $6,100 on a used one when I could buy a brand new one for $7,700? I just don't like the actual case design on them. I prefer the hardened sleeves put in them, just like on big water pumps and stuff when they rebuild those. So, and it's gonna be a spare, I mean, it'll sit out there till we need it. On the capital improvement projects, I'm still waiting. We're supposed to get the update from West Tech, from Landis, their electrical consultant, for the manual transfer switch design for the Netarts pump station, and the additional generator, or the generator that would be required to operate that pump station. I have not received it yet, so it's gonna look like it's probably not gonna be until next week before I have any information to give to the board. So I'll have it for next board. West Tech, the board asked me last month to look for a tax lot, a lot to place a pump station on Lower Avalon, and I got them to, this is not a clean way, I like to give it to the board, so I just had West Tech send me everything they had. I asked for, in my district report, 26,000, and the reason I did that, the 23,560 Barker surveying works for West Tech. There's an automatic 10% upcharge through West Tech. So I just added that in there, I just rounded it up a few dollars. I also attached the email that I received for Denny, and this explains kind of the procedure to go through what we have to look for to identify if we can even put a pump station down there. So county requirements are gonna have, we have to look if there's wetlands down there. There is some question if some of the plants down there, because the water does puddle down there in the wintertime. So some of the plants can identify as like wetland plants. So we're gonna probably have to go and do that when we go through the county to build down there. So we have to also have the surveyors look at that.
So it was 26,000 for the land? I'm sorry, I'm trying to.
No, so it's just for the surveying portion.
Okay, I'm sorry.
To just go down, if you look at the area, and like I said, I don't normally like to hand this to the board. These are our scratches on where the layout would be. This was actually started back in 2006, and the option was to directional drill under the mountain, which we will not do. So you'll see a star, it says there'll be a star 1, star 2, circled in orange. We want to place the pump station at that lower point on that map. The orange you'll see is where, in order to gravity service all these lots that run along there, that's a big belly, big swale down there. That's where they have to look for the wetlands to see if any sewer lines can actually be put in there
And
to
this,
service these
isn't that,
lots.
I think somebody bought most of those, that areas, new subdivision process, or they think it's trying to zone for it?
I'm not aware that anybody's bought,
It may not be that exact area.
on Upper Avalon they have.
Oh, maybe it's that, okay.
So, it's a little cleaner on the other page, but the yellow lines are where the gravity lines will go, except for the one right between all the lots, and we're kind of looking at lot 1137 or 1145, one of those two lots. If you look on the second page with just the yellow highlight. So that's kind of where we're doing the survey work, but they gotta do the survey, all of this area down here. The Hillsdale, the upper one on Hillsdale, all those homes are on ejector lines. And because of the slope, and they pump into Hillsdale to one manhole, that was originally set up for 7 homes. They've doubled that down there, and there's 2 homes per every 2-inch line now. And that's just a disaster waiting to happen. So we really need to fix those sewer lines and get them back off of them. And then the pump station will go right around 1137 down by that corner, and then it'll pump up to Regent, close to Regent, or it'll pump up to Regent, then it'll go to gravity. So it'll be a real short course thing in
So,
Where's Regent?
Does the,
there. If you follow
Oh, I see.
Grand,
I see.
yeah, if you follow Grand, then up Glenwood, and then Regent. So out of that intersection of Regent and Grand, there's a manhole right there.
maybe does the developer have to take on any help on repairing some of that, since they're adding homes up there, so many homes? Or is that just gonna be through the hookup price?
The hookup price.
Okay.
This project is actually spec'd, it's in our system development charge. So it's already in our capital resource, I don't know why I got that stuck in my mind. But anyway, this has already been budgeted for.
and I don't know whether I just wasn't listening carefully enough, but the existing homes there, 11-116, 11-41, etc. Those are all on ejector pumps, right? You said that will go away as part of this project?
Yes, that will go away, and also on the other side, some of them on the upper side. So like 1130, 1141, 1131, 1130. I think 1502 and 1500 are the only 2 that are on gravity. So all the rest of these pump out into this street area, up to our manhole right at the end of Hills Road. So we need is step 1 to even identify a piece of property to buy, we need to do the survey before the engineers can move any further. So I'm asking the board to approve the 26,000 that I'm asking for to have West End started on the survey.
Which is all SDC money.
This all comes out of our SDC fund. Engineering, everything.
So,
I'll make that motion.
second,
I'll second.
so are they going to provide something more formal for the next several weeks or something?
Yes,
before we
yeah,
Get
yeah.
started? Okay.
Probably the next thing you'll see is well, it depends on what we get from, the survey has to be completed first, then the West Tech will write a cost estimate for design and the next steps. They'll do a pre-design report and all that for the board.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right.
Okay. Approved.
Yes.
So number 5, we're required to inspect our ocean outfall every 2 years. Advanced American Construction has set Friday, May 26th for the dive out there. So if you see a boat out there, that's what they're doing, is inspecting the outfall diffuser. That's weather permitting. So if it was a day like today, they would probably get it done. But if there's a lot of wind and waves, they won't attempt it. They'll have to reschedule. So,
When are they coming out?
Portland. The one that did it before was out of Seattle. It's a specialized diving. They have to have the pressure tanks. And
That's the 26th.
yeah, it's Friday the 26th, and assuming it's corrected on this one.
Okay.
That's all I have.
You're not done yet. I forgot to tell you that there was something else you were gonna provide that just occurred to me. You wanna just briefly share with the board DEQ's visit last week?
I don't know.
It can be
Well,
very brief.
We met with DEQ down on site, it was from the December spill, and they wanted to see the layout, the ground, the pump station, because they sent us a letter wanting us to put in a 10,000 gallon storage tank, extra collection system storage, to give us more time if there's a pump station failure to get trucks on site. So 3 representatives from DEQ came. One of them was the engineer and one was the local DEQ rep here in town. And after going through the pump station, I believe that the DEQ's engineer now agrees that due to the layout of the boat basin area and all that down there, the best way to stop a spill is to keep the pumps running. So we have not had a response back from DEQ yet, nothing in writing on what they're going to allow. One DEQ rep kept wanting to push putting a tank somewhere. He came up with an idea over by the Schooner restaurant and then behind the pump station, and daylight it to a ditch back behind the road and stuff like that. And they're just, in my opinion, are not feasible, nor would they work as effectively as a pump station with the pump still operational. That's what it's designed for. It's always been designed to pump the sewer and collect it at that point. So we had a freak accident on, mishap down there, December 27th. We showed the engineer the portion of the transfer switch that failed. Even he had never heard of that before, failing like that. Transfer switches sometimes fail, but usually it's the sensors for electronics. It'll tell it there's just a loss of power, start the generator and switch power. But the mechanical portion is what failed. And usually it's something to do with a circuit board or something like that. So it took out our ability, because that's the backup, is that we go in and we change it through manually transferring the switch ourselves. That's what jammed, that's what broke. So we were unable to force it into emergency mode. And that's why when the power went out, everything just shut down. So that's been repaired. We put a brand new transfer switch in, a little bit of an upgraded transfer switch. And we do have redundant backup down there. As long as we have power, there's 5 pumps, there's 4 that's hooked up, one's a complete spare. So as we explained to DEQ, through cross tying that we can do down there, we could lose up to 3 pumps and keep that pump station still operational, as long as we have electricity. Even if we lose the control panel, we have redundant manual backup systems where it can run off the probes. But still, in order to monitor it, and even though when you have a spill, you still have to have power, no matter what. Our battery backup systems are only good for an hour or two. You know, that they can operate the telemetry SCADA system, but they cannot operate the pumps or anything mechanical. So we go far and above on our class 1 pump station. And the comment from the engineer from DEQ was he wished all the pump stations he went to had as much redundancy as this one has in it. So the only failure was, it was during a storm, the power went out, and at that time, that generator transfer switch broke. Now, we did check with Cummins, who's the manufacturer of it. There are no scheduled maintenance procedures to take on a transfer switch. There's nothing in the books.
It's a bad switch.
We just had a switch that failed. So, hate to be the first to do something like that, but as far as Cummins said, we were the first one that ever had one of those switches fail.
And that switch has been there, how many years?
17 years.
So maybe 15 years from now, think about checking to make sure our switch.
We have ones at the Capes that have been in there since '93, another one at '95, and it's never broken. And we have the same type of manual overrides. The manual overrides never break. Now I can't say I can't say that anymore, but that's one reason I've asked the board to look at in my position of, you know, we should always have a backup. I'm an old diesel mechanic, okay? So those diesel engines, just like you'd have in your trucks or something like that, they can break at any time. I was always more worried about a generator, the AC portion of it going out. I've had those burn out, but I've never had a transfer switch fail. And usually those generators, after about 40 years in service, 30 or 40 years, then those start to wear out. But never have I seen a transfer switch ever break on the manual transfer override. So.
Joe, if we have time, I was gonna ask one more question, kind of bring up some information that I was given today by the Oregon Department of Forestry, if it's okay.
Sure.
So my question was about what you brought up about power failures. And the reason is, we just had a long meeting with ODF, and they're predicting a more radical fire season than we had expected. And with that, PUD will be changing their settings so that when they get one hit, like a tree branch hits, the power will be shutting off instead of the typical 3 hits where it typically burns off a small branch, because they don't want branches hitting, catching on fire, and hitting the ground. So I think we may see more frequent, instead of at least at my house, we get the 1 click and I'm like, better start shutting stuff down, because then you get the 2nd click, and then the 3rd click, if the cap's still on the wire, then it's gonna go out. I think we're gonna see more and more frequent 1 click and the power's gonna be off. And then that's gonna take some time for PUD to respond to where that's at. So I don't know what our system is, and I'm sorry I haven't had time to tour it, but I think we should, are we okay if we're starting to get more frequent 1-hit power outages?
So yes, anytime you have multiple power outages, it's not good on the electronics in the pump
Right.
station. Having to switch power back and forth, back and
Certainly.
forth. But what we do is we exercise our generators every week. That assures us that the batteries are working, the charging system, and, the
Including
alternator.
The transfer switch gets exercised.
Yeah, and the transfers,
every Monday.
yeah. So, and the biggest worry we have is fuel. So that's why the winter storms bother us more, because in the summer, if it's a simple power outage, somebody hit a pole and knock out a power grid, we have enough fuel in there to run 3 days. under full load, we can run. We can get diesel delivered. We keep 1,000 gallons out here. It's on-road diesel because we share it with the fire department. But we can transfer diesel down or have it delivered. Even during the last storm, we were having them deliver it every 2 or 3 days when we had to run that 2 weeks on the generator.
I just wanted to bring up that, and over the next, I would say, 5 to 6 years, depending on that El Nino pattern, that's when everybody's projecting the forestry guy did not look well. I'll just put it that way. He looked like it's gonna be a long 2 summers. So if there's anything we need to look at, I just wanted to bring it up that it looks like the next few years.
And that's another good reason to look at the manual transfer, switch additional options to each of the pump stations, so that if you do have a problem, 'cause you can burn out parts of your generator system. That we still have a backup power system that we can get in there temporarily.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions?
So just listening to him talk about fires, it made me think about defensible space around all of our facilities. You probably thought about that.
Well, every one of our facilities, except for the Netarts pump station, has fences around it. And we try to keep the brush cut back as far as we can. But we don't own the property on a lot of those, so we can't just go start cutting brush way back. But around our pump stations, there is usually a pretty good gap. You know, it's not saying that a fire can't get to it, a tree can't fall on it at some point, but we try to keep it cleared away.
And one thing we could do to maybe lessen the risk a little bit is coordinate, not only with Netarts Fire, I know their EOC is here and things like that, but maybe I'll try and include, just getting you some information on when they're having the big group meetings with wildland. If there's a specific area that's a high risk, like maybe there's a station that's got trees close to it, then we could send a crew in and drop those trees if there was really happen, no matter if it was private property or not. Forestry or one of the fire agencies can go in and drop a bunch of trees to give us more of a principal space. So,
Our only concern here is you can see how this is laid out. There's nothing really close to it to burn.
right.
And everything is brick and metal roofs. It's mainly around the lagoon gates and the outer gates as you see as you come in. We try to keep that mowed away as much as we can. I did meet with Green Crow, and they're gonna allow us to cut a few feet back, because we only own up to the fence. We don't own anything past the fence. Up front, we own down to the bottom of the gully. But as you can see, where we're allowed, where we own, we keep it trimmed back several feet.
Okay, knock on wood, there was a situation, let us know if there's a high risk, and we can pass that information on to crews and say, hey, can you go in and take out another 10 yards of trees, and assuming that we're not doing structural protection on homes, then we do it. Make more.
And the forestry, when we built this, already claimed our lagoons for water
Yeah.
to dip out of, so.
Yeah.
So, and then at our pump station, main pump station down below, there has been concerns expressed about the power line that goes up the hill. And I think that was cut back, wasn't it, by,
PUD came
PUD
in and
came
cut
in,
it back.
cut-
They didn't remove the
un-
brush, but they did cut it all back.
yeah. So, I mean, it's a existing concern of local residents, I think.
They do a great job.
Honestly.
It's just, I think everybody's worried about, we also all saw what happened in California a few years ago. And if the winds get high and the line goes down, then they want to be able to kill that immediately instead of getting an ignition on the ground from re-arcing. So I think they're doing a really good job of being proactive. But I think when you get the first click, it may get dark. Instead of having a 3-second kind of delay.
Well, and I think we were all very fortunate a couple of years ago when that line came down across from the Capes, and they put that out real quick. So,
So to finish up, there is no timeline when we're gonna hear back from DEQ. So they did their visit, they did their walkthrough, so the ball is in their court now to respond.
Look at our letters.
Well, we should, I mean, I can't tell you how long. Sometimes it takes months, sometimes it's weeks, depends on NEQ. So, because we are pushing back against the underground.
From the government, we're here to help.
Okay, thank you, very good. All right, old business, the next item will be the draft rate increase letter to residents that, if approved this evening, will go out starting tomorrow, or
I'm gonna start photocopying
photocopy.
and getting them ready,
So,
so
can I
probably next week.
motion to accept the letter advising residents of the rate increase of $5.
I'll move.
Okay,
I'll second.
all right, good discussion. Does anybody have any comments to offer?
Thank you.
I think you got it covered, short and sweet, that's good.
I know, Jerry, you had, I believe, offered a couple of comments that were incorporated, and then Simeon looked at it and also offered a couple of comments, so there could be some, what I consider very minor changes beyond what you offered, so that's where we're at right now.
Mine were mostly English teacher, comma placement issues.
So, all in favor of accepting the letter and that we're ready to send it out, say aye.
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is the low-income program resolutions. The thought here is not necessarily to approve them this evening, but if anybody has any comments they would like to offer, we'll certainly accept them, and then they would be approved at our June meeting for implementation on July 1st with the new budget. So, not requiring any approval by the board this evening, just open it for discussion. And Elizabeth, you're an important part in consideration, particularly of the procedures as proposed, based on your experience and background with low-income individuals. Put you on the hot seat, huh?
Yeah, I know. No, I think it looks good. I appreciate all the work that you and Simeon put into it. I know I wasn't as involved as I probably should have been, but yeah, no, nothing really, I don't see any red flags or anything, so I think it looks good.
Okay, the other thing here is, and this is almost more for staff, annually, there would be a couple things, like looking at the new tables and changing the tables in the attachment. And then perhaps the percentage discount calculation. But I don't want this to be a heavy burden on the staff to make it work. But I thought it needed more than the resolution from 2009 as far as how, and it doesn't mean that it can't be changed as far as what we come up with. So any input from you all is welcome also. one of the other things, it was shifted from calendar year under the old program to fiscal year, which may confuse somebody a little bit applying for the program, but nevertheless, I think that's easier for management of the program here, for staff to manage the program. Let's see, there was, Simeon thought that, came up with the name change. That was one of the things that.
And the name change was just to be consistent with various federal, energy and water programs, all these, the terminology, low income assistance program, energy assistance program, water assistance programs. Just,
And thought was that everybody should pay something, even if it's a minimal amount. And then Simeon thought we shouldn't, everybody shouldn't just receive the same benefit necessarily, so we kind of graduated it in the attachment. And the idea behind the attachment was that we could probably change the attachment without having to come up with a new resolution. So. And if something needs to be changed, it always can be changed. So,
So I had one question here. In our newsletter or webpage, do we mention that it's an people opportunity to donate to this fund?
I would advocate for that. I think last time you mentioned that in the written paper version of the bill, there's an opportunity to donate, but not on the online version of it.
We're still, yeah, we are looking into that.
Yeah.
so would, that the program is available and persons can also donate. Okay.
Well, we're waiting to find out if that's available.
Well, through our software system, right? So that when somebody does pay online, that it goes directly to that fund and not through general fund or, general user.
That's just a piece of code. Someone's got to do.
Yeah, my understanding is they haven't quite figured it out yet, though, have
They
they?
haven't got back to us on it yet.
Yeah, not so much that people could donate, but Simeon thought that language needed to be included, that the program would be as widely disseminated as we can, which was sort of item 13, as far as letting people know that this program exists, but certainly the ability to contribute to it should be part of that.
Yeah, Elizabeth asked a question at the last board meeting, which was how do people find out about it? And the answer was kind of like overreturning it just seems to me that if we have a program, people need to know. So some, do you need help on your sewer bill, contact the district for our loan assistance program.
It sounds like something that should be on the district's website.
Yeah.
Is what?
Yeah.
Yeah, just something like that.
Something.
I wouldn't do expensive mailers or anything.
No.
But if we do, when we have people run into problems, they have called.
Yeah.
Some don't qualify, and we have to tell them that.
Yeah.
But it seemed like when they struggle, they do call their own. At least most of them.
I'm married to a gerontologist, and she pointed out to me that the issue of pride is often a barrier for asking for help. So,
Generally, if they get late notices past due notices, or something like that. I don't know, do you contact them or you just keep, it just keeps building?
The last one we did, we did reach out and contact that person.
Remember,
Well,
it's,
the counter concern too, you advertise it too broadly, you get more respondents and service.
Yeah.
It discredits them.
Yeah.
So I think steady as we go, incremental steps of advertising it would be most prudent.
remember, it's not funded by user
No.
fees. So, once it's depleted until it's, you know,
So we have donors.
yeah, we have donors.
Yeah.
So I agree that it's important that both aspects of the program get out there, that somebody can participate and that somebody can contribute. And section 13, although it wasn't thought about that way, it just says the program needs to be put out there. So I think under the umbrella of the language that's in item 13, we can include both those that would contribute and those that would receive the benefit.
So if you're gonna wanna advertise it, even on the website, or you gonna want to make sure that they know it's funded solely by donations. Because if we're advertising, they're gonna assume we offer this program, and then they're gonna find out we don't really offer it.
Right. We have
Yeah.
as much money as we
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would say.
We'd have to make it clear. I agree with Jerry, we could get a run on it,